Hello and welcome to the class. My name is Alex. Today we're going to talk about the third conditional. So by the end of this class, you should have a better idea how to form the third conditional and in what situations to use the third conditional. After the class today, if you want to ask a question, remember you can click the chat icon at the top of the page. This will allow you to send us a message with your question. During the class, there will be some questions for you to answer, and these will appear below the video. I will tell you when you need to answer the questions, and I'll give you some time to do so. Let's get started. These pictures represent a disastrous journey, and this is a true story about my friend Simon. I'm going to tell you the story, and while you listen, I'd like you to think about this question. Who caused the disastrous journey? Earlier this year, my friend Simon and his wife went to a wedding. The day started badly. Simon woke up late because he went to the pub with his workmates the night before. At 10 o'clock, he still wasn't ready, but he just grabbed his things and jumped in the car. After 45 minutes, he realized that he'd left his phone at home, so he couldn't use the GPS for directions. 30 minutes later, his wife said, "I think this is our exit. You should turn off here." He ignored her, but it turned out she was right. They had to drive for another hour to the next exit. Then Simon took a shortcut to try and save time, but they ended up totally lost, and the car ran out of petrol. By the time he had filled up the car, they were 3 hours late and they had missed the wedding. Look at the first question below the video and choose the correct option to answer the question, who caused the disastrous journey? The correct answer is Simon caused the disastrous journey. He made all the bad decisions. Now let's look at what Simon said to me the day after the disastrous journey. Simon said to me, if I had woken up on time, did Simon wake up on time? Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct answer, yes or no. The answer here is no, Simon did not wake up on time. So this situation is not what really happened. Simon then said, I wouldn't have missed the wedding. Look at the next question below the video and answer the question, did Simon miss the wedding? Yes or no? The answer is yes, Simon did miss the wedding. So this result is also not what really happened. Then Simon said to me, if I hadn't forgotten my phone, look at the next question below the video and choose yes or no to the question, did Simon forget his phone? The answer is yes, Simon did forget his phone. So this situation is not real. Simon says, if I hadn't forgotten my phone, I could have used the GPS for directions. Look at the next question below the video and choose yes or no. Could Simon use the GPS for directions? The answer is no. He couldn't use the GPS for directions because the GPS was at home on his phone. So this is not a real result. Simon is talking about unreal past events and unreal results. These sentences are examples of the third conditional. We use the third conditional to describe unreal past events and the imagined results of those unreal past events. Look at the 4 sentences on the screen and tell me which sentence is true based on Simon's disastrous journey. Look at the next question below the video and choose the sentence that is true. The correct answer here is sentence number 3 is true. Remember, we are describing unreal past events. Did Simon bring his phone? No, he didn't. So this is not a real past event. And imaginary results. Did Simon use the GPS for directions? No, he didn't. So this is not a real result. Sentence number 2 and sentence number 4 are not correct because they talk about a real past situation. If I hadn't brought my phone, this is true. Simon did not bring his phone. So these 2 sentences are not talking about unreal situations. And sentence number 1 is not correct because it says he wouldn't have used the GPS. But we know that Simon wanted to use the GPS, but he couldn't. Now let's look at how the third conditional is formed. We form the third conditional by using the past perfect tense in the if clause of the sentence. For example, if I had woken up on time. Then, in the result clause of the sentence, we use a modal verb like would, could, or might, plus have and a past participle verb. For example, I wouldn't have missed the wedding. The 2 clauses can be in any order. We can change the order. But when the if clause is first, we use a comma between the 2 clauses. For example, if I had woken up on time, comma, I wouldn't have missed the wedding. We can also write this sentence the other way around. I wouldn't have missed the wedding if I had woken up on time. But in this sentence, we do not need a comma because the if clause is second. Now let's practice finding accurate third conditional sentences. Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct sentence which is written accurately. The accurate sentence here is sentence number 2. Sentence number 2 uses the past perfect in the if clause, and it uses might plus have plus stopped, past participle stopped, in the result clause. It also uses a comma because the if clause comes first in this sentence. Sentence number 1 is not correct because in the if clause we need to use the past perfect, not the present perfect, and not an infinitive verb. Also, in the result clause, we never change the verb have. It does not change. Even for he and she and it, we do not change to has. We always use have in the result clause of third conditional sentences. Sentence number 3 is not accurate because we do not need a comma. The if clause comes second in this sentence, so we do not need the comma. And sentence number 4 is not accurate because we need to use have in the result clause, not an infinitive verb and not a past verb like had. Now let's practice making some of our own third conditional sentences. Look at sentence number 1. If Simon had listened to his wife, the correct exit. Use the verb take and look at the next question below the video and write the correct verb phrase to complete sentence number 1. The correct verb phrase here is they would have taken the correct exit. We could also say might have taken the correct exit here. Look at sentence number 2. Missing the exit wouldn't have been a problem if the next exit closer. Use the verb be and look at the next question below the video and write the correct verb phrase to complete sentence number 2. The correct verb phrase here is if the next exit had been closer. Remember, we use the past perfect in the if clause. Look at sentence number 3. They lost if Simon hadn't taken a shortcut. Use the verb get and look at the next question below the video and write the correct verb phrase to complete sentence number 3. The correct answer here is they might not have got lost. This is the result clause, so we use a modal verb plus have and a past participle. The negative comes after the modal verb. Look at sentence number 4. If they some spare petrol, Simon wouldn't have had to walk to a petrol station. Use the verb have and look at the next question below the video and write the correct verb phrase to complete sentence number 4. The correct answer here is if they had some spare petrol. Remember, we use the past perfect, which uses had as an auxiliary verb, and then we use a past participle. So when the main verb is have, the past participle is had, giving us the word had twice together. Okay, now let's move on and talk about different modal verbs we can use with the third conditional. Here you can see 3 sentences that are exactly the same. The only difference is the modal verb in the result clause. Look at the 3 definitions of the sentences. Which sentence matches definition A? Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct sentence that matches definition A. The correct answer here is sentence number 2. Would perhaps, but not definitely, is the meaning of the modal verb might. Now look at meaning B. Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct sentence which matches meaning B. The correct answer here is sentence number 3. If we have the ability to do something, if it is physically possible to do something, we use the modal verb could. And meaning C matches sentence number 1. When something is definite, we use the modal verb would. Now let's practice using these 3 modal verbs in some more third conditional sentences. Look at sentence number 1. If he hadn't spent all his money on clothes, he have bought the university books he needs. He wants to buy the books. Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct modal verb to complete sentence number 1. The correct answer here is he could have bought the books he needs. He didn't have enough money to buy the books, so it was not physically possible. But if he hadn't spent all his money, it would have been physically possible. So we use the modal verb could. Look at sentence number 2. She have been the youngest winner of Pop Idol if she hadn't missed last year's audition. She's a really good singer who had a chance of winning. Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct modal verb to complete sentence number 2. The correct answer here is she might have been the youngest winner of Pop Idol. It's not definite because she had a chance of winning. It was not certain that she would win. So we should use might to mean perhaps in this situation. Look at sentence number 3. They could or would have flown to Spain rather than drive if the airline tickets had been more affordable. They had enough money to fly, but they didn't want to spend too much. Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct modal verb to complete sentence number 3. The correct answer here is they would have flown to Spain rather than drive if the tickets had been cheaper or more affordable. They wanted to fly and they had enough money, but they didn't want to spend too much. Now let's move on and talk about some different situations in which we can use the third conditional. The third conditional can be used to talk about regrets. For example, if I'd known how they would respond to the email, I wouldn't have sent it. This person regrets sending the email. Third conditionals can also give excuses. For example, if I hadn't got stuck in traffic, I wouldn't have been late to the meeting. This person is giving the reason or an excuse for why they were late to the meeting. Finally, third conditionals can also describe positive turning points in our lives. For example, I wouldn't have been brave enough to speak in public if I hadn't taken that course on public speaking. This person thinks that the course on public speaking was a turning point. It had a big effect on the rest of their life after that time. Now let's do some review and try to remember everything we've learned in today's class. Look at sentence number 1. Sorry, miss, I have done my homework if my goldfish hadn't been sick. Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct word to complete sentence number 1. The correct answer here is, I would have done my homework if my goldfish hadn't been sick. The student did not do their homework because their goldfish was sick, if we believe this. Sentence number 1 is an excuse. The student is explaining why they didn't do their homework. Look at sentence number 2. I wouldn't be in the boss's office now if I worked harder this month. Look at the next question below the video and choose the correct word to complete sentence number 2. The correct answer here is, if I had worked harder this month. Remember, we use the past perfect in the if clause for third conditionals. Sentence number 2 is a regret. This person regrets not working very hard this month because now they are in trouble with the boss. Look at sentence number 3. If I had stayed in my small town, I have learnt anything about the world. Look at the final question below the video and choose the correct word to complete sentence number 3. The correct answer here is, I might not have learnt anything about the world. It is still possible to learn something about the world, even in the small town, but it's maybe less likely. So the answer here is perhaps wouldn't have done it. And we use the word might. And this is describing a turning point. This person thinks leaving their town was an important time in their life and affected the rest of their life. That is the end of the class. Hopefully now you have a better idea of how to form the third conditional and in what situations you can use the third conditional. Remember, if you have a question after this class, you can click the chat icon at the top of the page, and this will allow you to send us a message with your question. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.